Dear Ole, welcome. I'm so proud to welcome you on my channel and to try very humbly to open you the door for the French-speaking world, because I have a great admiration and respect for your work.
Merci beaucoup would be my comment. That's more or less the only French I speak, but I'm very grateful, Isabelle, for you to opening up the French-speaking community for me, because I have been interviewed in France like maybe a handful of times, but on the whole, there's so much English-speaking material about these things and not that much in French and German, I believe. So this is where I'm super grateful that you are helping me to reach other people, because I believe that, and I hope that what I bring to the table is of value, of great value, hopefully.
You should know that as a young journalist, I started out on the same path as you, until events against my will, again, especially while I was investigating on the first attempts of the World Trade Center in '96. I was stopped brutally in my investigation. And I guess I was too young to face the shadow and the dark angels. And this was quite painful in my career, not to be supported by my hierarchy to go ahead in this investigation. So this is why some years later, I left the mainstream media to work as a humanitarian for the International Committee of the Red Cross in conflicted areas. And I devoted myself since then to a journalism of joy, sovereignty, and authenticity that promotes beauty, freedom, and the best within us. You are, dear Ole Dammegard, a well-known and respected figure in truth-seeking and peace advocacy by decoding the traps of duality in current international events to lead us towards unity and oneness. You have investigated events such as the Maui fires, the Las Vegas shootings, the Bataclan massacre, the Boston Marathon bombing, the 11th September, Sandy Hook, Charlie Hebdo, the truck attacks in Stockholm, Berlin, Nice, the shooting in Norway, the Oklahoma City bombing, all the attacks in London and Manchester, and many more. From being awarded the Prague Peace to your adoption by the Apache Nation, your journey is marked by relentless pursuit of truth. Over 4 decades, your main objective, Ole, has been to uncover the truth behind major political assassination also, such as JFK, Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, John Lennon, and other high-profile targets. You are the #1 expert in the world in studying false flag operations. Alongside your incredible investigative efforts, you're a talented musician, and I can see the guitar behind. You're an artist also, a painter, an inventor, and author of notable books like Coup d'État in Slow Motion. What was the triggering event that enabled you to look through the veil of illusion?
There wasn't an intention for me to go down this road and devote my life to this. It came gradually, but I'm a simple person with a simple mind. I need to understand the logic, like 1 + 1 = 2. And sometimes when I'm presented something that is, say, 1 + 1 = 34, I know that something is wrong because it's just not true. And for me, the thing that really was the waking thing was the very first time I saw the so-called Zapruder film of the JFK assassination, where you see that the final headshot is throwing his head backwards and to the left, meaning it's just if I against, well, I know I shouldn't, but if I hit you, your head would go away from where the power comes from. It would move away in the same direction, meaning that the shooter must have been standing to the front and the right, with at least for the last shot. And here, the official narrative was the exact opposite, that the shooter, the one that they accused of it, was sitting 6 floors up behind a tree and from behind, meaning that in that case, his head would have been thrown forward and to the left. Now it was backwards and to the left. So that was the very first time I saw this. And I mean, it took me like 18 seconds to understand something is completely wrong here, because that is so not true. And then it's taken me 43 years to understand more or less everything about what actually happened that day. But the thing that really got to me was that all of these big TV channels and documentary makers and politicians and presidents, everybody was backing the official narrative that was so obviously false. And so I got very confused, and that was what started me on this journey. And I tell you, like that exact shot that came from behind the picket fence, last year in December, I interviewed the man who fired that shot. Yeah. I've done 3 interviews with him. His name is James Files. He was a young assassin at the time. He was one of a big group of assassins that day. There was even a French guy in Dealey Plaza that killed Kennedy. His name was Lucien Sarti. He was the so-called badgeman or black dog in a Dallas police uniform that day. He was one of the shooters. But anyway, so that was it was almost like full circle for me from that shot being fired to speaking to the guy that pulled the trigger. That was very big for me. I've also been a speaker. I've been invited 3 times in Dallas. I've been one time there in person, and then at the conferences online otherwise.
But yeah,
No, so that is just the thing that got me started, because then the more I started digging into this, the more question marks appeared. Instead of me getting answers, I just got more and more questions and more confused and more layers of deception. And it just kept on and on. And then that took me into the worlds of other assassinations or assassinations attempt, including the one on de Gaulle. And the whole how these things were carried out took me many years to start understanding. But in the end, I think that I'm really understanding the modus operandi, the templates that are used, the way they carry out these operations, the psychological part of these operations as well, because they are always there to deceive us into believing that somebody else carried that out or was doing that, these false-like operations. It's all the time it's the same theme over and over and over again. And over the years, this has led me from top political assassinations into the world of alleged terror attacks and alleged mass shootings, where what I find is the very same forces working again and again and again, more or less the same power structure, even the same teams on a street level that are traveling around from NATO country to NATO country, including France, including Sweden. That was not part of NATO, but they have been since 1954, if you ask me. But it's not signed, but they've been in the pocket of NATO ever since. And so, what I've even been able to track the same team around the world, and I've been on location on many sites. You were talking about risks and so on. Very uncomfortable. I was in Paris right after the Bataclan, alleged Bataclan massacre. Big operation, big operation. But I also followed the people that carried that out, because the shooters, there were a lot of crisis acting going on that day, with not real, but they're staged events. But then there seemed to have been some people shot at one specific cafe, and the shooters at that cafe was 3 days later in San Bernardino and carrying out a shooting in California. So the thing is, I call them the global tour of terror. You know, you just track them round, 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 and they go around. It's sort of, so it's like they even recycle the same police districts, the same investigators and so on, so they can reuse their own people. Meaning that if there is a terrorist attack in Paris, it will be in police district 11. That's where Charlie Hebdo was. That's where the Bataclan was. That is where, if they do something, it will be right there. If it's in Melbourne, it will be around the Flinders train station. If it's in London, it will be around Westminster Bridge, and so on. So you can just see them go around and around and around like this.
Before digging the pattern actually and the templates they are using from one false flag or an attack to another, I would like to ask you, who is pulling the strings actually?
It's a very good question, not easy to answer, because it's on many different levels.
Yeah.
You have, on a street level, you have the people carrying out these operations. They have absolutely no idea who's giving the orders. They have no idea who's paying them. They have no idea what the bigger plan is. These operations are always completely compartmentalized. You know, everyone only know their little part, because it's very important for the people behind the scenes pulling the strings that they don't know too much, because if they know too much, then they can become a problem for the powers behind them. And so even the people that are there as operatives doing the shooting, doing the killing, doing whatever, they are also very aware of not asking questions about what they're doing, because they know that if they know too much, it's very easy that they could be the next target. So in this area, you got the shooters. They've only been given like the target. They don't know why.
It's the first layer. Mm-hmm.
The first layer, that's sort of on a street level. Then you have the layers behind it, where you have the investigations that are always part of the crime. They don't know the shooters, but they're part of the whole thing. The people, this is what is interesting, I think, because when these false flag operations are carried out, if it's a false flag, then the press conferences will be carried out by people who are involved in the crime. So the people that step forward and say, this is what we're doing, we're chasing these people now, they're in it. They're in it. And then you have specific people in media that is in it as well, that are paid assets, that are, because the media outlet, the information outlet, is the most important thing, want to tell the rest of the world, because all of these alleged terror attacks are there to scare us. To scare us. It's the CIA's, what is called the strategy of tension, to keep us in fear, so that we will accept more and more surveillance, more and more control, more and more slavery, more and more rules, more and more, all of these type of things for our protection. Absolute bullshit. It is so not true. It's based on these operations. Then you go up to, like, on a governmental level, you got the different layers of where presidents and many of these rulers are connected through Freemasonry, and also organizations like the Bilderberg Group, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Committee of 300, the Club of Rome, same people in these organizations. And then there's another level where you start coming into like areas where it's starting to get tricky to find who's pulling the strings. You got the Rockefellers, you got the Rothschilds, you got the Swedish family Wallenberg, very, very important family in this case. And then you got behind these also, you got multinational companies where it's very, very hard to find out who's behind the scenes. Like BlackRock is a big bad boy here. Another company is Serco. Most people have never heard of this company. There's even on YouTube, you can find like 5 minutes presentation. Serco, the biggest company no one has ever heard about. And then you have State Street and Vanguard. These three companies that are owned and controlled by the same, but are owning, I mean, they have the world by the balls, literally. And then above them, you have the mindset of evil. And then the whole with the satanic layers and pedophile thing, they say that it's a pyramid-shaped power form. and that they are at the top of the pyramid. What they forget to tell you is that the pyramid are actually upside down. That top that they say is the lowest of the low of human quality, if you ask me, where it is, and they worship the guy with the horns and the fork who likes really hot climate. We, on the other hand, likes the one up in the clouds with wings and a big white beard. So it's like this duality in this matrix we live in: good, evil, black, white, up, down.
Can we say that above there is also a layer between unevolving forces and evolving forces that play for duality, in which we can experiment love and we can choose which path we want to follow? Is it love or is it fear?
Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, I live in a life that I don't understand. I live in a matrix that I don't understand. But I can see, I observe certain things. I observe what you just said. I also observe that we're being told that we're in a loving universe, but what I see around me right now is it's very brutal in many ways. And my sweetheart came up with this name, this word, brutiful. Life is brutiful. And I think it is. So if you think that if you come to this world and you think it's going to be a dance on roses, that is a really good expression, because roses have got thorns. So that is exactly it. If you think that everything should be pink and wonderful and happy from day one to the end of your life, you come to the wrong place. You bought the wrong ticket, because here it is full on boot camp on a spiritual level and on a body level as well.
One thing which is really interesting in your sharings is that you're mentioning that these, let's call them dark angels, or showing in advance, or they're showing publicly somehow in advance their plan or the next attack. Why would they do so? Why would they show in advance their plan?
That is a really good question, and I had no idea about that until the fall of 2014, when I had been going on for many years by then, and somebody contacted me anonymously and said that I've seen what you're doing. I've seen it for years. You're doing great, but you miss out on the hidden clues about upcoming attacks in the forensic evidence. And I was like, what do you mean? That hidden clues? I mean, that's just plain stupid. Why would anyone do that? And he then said to me that the people or the forces that are carrying so much bad out, against us, that they're very afraid of the law of karma. So the way they see it is that if they show us what they're going to do and we do not react, then it's the bad karma's on our shoulders, not theirs. So it's not because they care about us. It's because for their selfish part, they're very afraid of the effects. So I don't know if that is true, if you can avoid bad karma like that, but I know that that is what he told me. And so to start with, I didn't really, I mean, I listened, but I mean, I got contacted by a lot of people. I never know who they are, so anyway, at this very time, there was a very strange tweet going around on Twitter. It was sent out from somebody called Israel in Boston. And there were 4 images there was one photo of a statue in Dublin with a machine gun. Then there was the Mona Lisa with a bomb in her knee like this. And then there was one picture of the Little Mermaid in Copenhagen with a big bazooka. And then there was the statue of Florence in Italy, the statue of David in Florence in Italy with a big, the whole ISIS outfit, type of thing. And then it says, Israel now, Dublin next. Israel now, Paris next. Israel now, Copenhagen next. Israel. And I was like, no explanation, no time. But it kept popping up. I was like, what bizarre thing is that? I mean, and then there was a failed ISIS attack. ISIS is not what we're being told. It is the boogeyman created by the US State Department, the CIA, Israeli Mossad, and backed by backed by Saudi money, also sponsored by Toyota, who are sponsoring all the vehicles that ISIS or ISIS, Daesh, I mean, all of the names, the same bullshit. It was the Al-Qaeda that was just upgraded. It's the same force. Most of it are private contractors, soldiers of fortune, and so on that are employed to carry out mayhem. But anyway, so there was this failed attack outside Dublin, and then Charlie Hebdo on the 9th of April 2015.
Mhm.
And so that was when the second thing happened. I was like, wait a second, Dublin, that's the first photo. Paris, Charlie Hebdo, that's the second. So Denmark was the third, and then Italy. So I thought, my God, if what he said is actually true, then Copenhagen would be the next. So I went out on social media asking, is there anyone that knows anybody about anything about a security drill in central Copenhagen at the moment? Because they always have drills there before the attacks go live. The drills are there to prepare, to rehearse, to get all the footage ready, all of these things. So they come on location, practice, do all of these things during a drill where they can clear the area for normal people, and then they go live the next day or something like that, boom. So the drill is always very important to find. So I asked, is there any drill in Copenhagen? Somebody got back to me more or less right away saying there's actually a drill going on this very evening around the train station that I was pointing towards. So I thought, oh my God. So I went out on 2 major shows in the US and said, please, anyone in Copenhagen, now get your butt over to that station, bring cameras, bring friends, do whatever, film everything that is going on there, so that they, if they're trying to do something, they know that they will be observed, that it can be used against them, in an attempt to stop it. That was the very first time I stepped forward publicly doing like that. And so the night when I said it's going to happen, nothing happened. It was I pointed out the 14th of January. Instead, exactly 1 month later, on the 14th of February, on the exact location, everything was just 1 month postponed. I think that there was too much attention that was being put on that. So they diverted it to... They postponed it, and then they went on Valentine's Day, which is another day of death. They love these the dates of death, and the Valentine Day is not a romantic event. It's based on the execution of 3 people called Valentine. But anyway, so that was the first time when that happened in February there. I thought, oh my God, that's 3 out of 4. And so I went big time out, warned about the upcoming in Florence. And then just a few days later, there was a big article saying failed ISIS attack in Florence, Italy. I thought, that's 4 out of 4. Yeah. And so from then on, only thanks to this anonymous source that I still don't know, but I'm very grateful for, that told me about this, my main focus is to find the hidden clues. And up to date, I've been exposing and connecting these things up to 2 months before they happen, 3 months before they happen, on international radio, 69 of these events.
How can you be sure that these attacks were avoided by your warnings? Do you have concrete elements that helps you to measure the impact of your work actually to save lives?
There's a misunderstanding there. I have not stopped 69. I've stopped some. I predicted some that has later been confirmed, but I've connected afterwards. I found the clues too late, but I connected some of them, saying that, listen, boom, I missed out on that one, but here is the clue.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example, if that's okay. So you got the Bataclan massacre, alleged massacre in the music theater in central Paris. And normally you don't see like photos of dead people or something. They're always very blurry, or they don't show from crime scene when real events happen. In this case, there was one photo that was being given out, and it's one photo of the inside of the Bataclan with lots of bodies lying around. I mean, we're talking, I don't know, 20, 30 bodies on the floor. When you look at that, it's like, because I went in, I checked the layout of the Bataclan from their website and stuff, and the Bataclan Music Theater had this red, beautiful carpet, you know. Here, and also the floor is, I think, going slight downwards like this, at least to a certain extent. Here, all of these bodies were put out on cardboard, you know, that it was not the red carpet. They had covered the floor so that they could, and then normally if you have some kind of difference in height, if you put fluid like blood on it, it will run in the same direction. Here, the blood has been running in all different directions, very odd. And also when you look at the bodies, like some of the bodies where the hips were completely unnatural, you know, things like that, they could not. Then there was a golden death mask on the floor as well. And in the background, up among where, you know, where people were normally seated, there are like 6 figures in black robes like this with like a lit candle, almost like, you know, Freemasonic, eyes wide shut, bizarre stuff. So that photo was like, whoa, what is that? That is just so unusual. But the thing that really got to me, first of all, normally if you have a photo like that that is published, you can go in and you can check the technical data on it so that you get what camera, what lens, what date was it. Here, it was a screenshot. It was a photo taken of a screen so that it came completely anonymous. That is always a giveaway, that this one, be aware of that. But the weirdest thing of it all was that it looked like somebody had taken a giant paintbrush and painted like a heart shape of blood, like 1 meter wide, 120 wide, as a big heart like this, and the bodies were on top of it. I mean, we're talking like maybe 15, 20 meter big type of thing. So I was like, what on earth has happened here? My mind again, 1 + 1 = 2. How did that happen? And the official narrative was that somebody had been shot and they had been trying to get him out, so that they had dragged him over the floor. But I mean, yeah, then you would have like maybe 18 bullet holes, even out in the body, put him down on the side, and then pushed him around like this on the floor. It didn't make any sense. So I thought, what on earth is that? That is one of these clues, but I don't understand it. So I went out on Facebook and social media. I put out the photo. I said, what do you see here? What is this? Is it a heart? Is it because the Paris is the city of love? Is it like what is it? What is it? And then boom, the airport, the Brussels airport shooting occurred. And it was not long after that. It was on the 22nd of March. 22nd of March. It was, and in one of the footage there, when they were when they were filming, there was the people being interviewed. The camera was doing a panoramic view like this, and they passed over the door, the entrance door into the airport, and on it there was the logo of the airport, which was blood red, and it's not a heart, it's like a heart and a bird, like this, exactly the same as on the floor in the Bataclan. And then it said underneath, the heart of Europe. And then, so I thought, oh my God, that's the one. I didn't see it, but this is what I mean, while some of them I connected. Then the next one, I went also to the airport in Brussels, which is the headquarters of NATO also, you know. And so I went to the airport, and there was especially some of the photos that I couldn't make any sense of it, you know, because it was not where they said the bombs had been detonated. That whole thing is also, there's not a true word at all around that attack. So many of them, so many of them. So there was this very odd photo that kept that caught my attention. And it was like, there was this cafe that was completely blown to pieces, they said, but that cafe was not where the bombs exploded. And on the wall of this cafe, there was a wall painting, not a normal painting, but painted on the wall, that's the Eiffel Tower lying down. Have you ever seen a wall painting of the Eiffel Tower lying down? And that cafe has later changed name to Framed. Now it's called Framed. You know, the way when you frame somebody, that cafe is now called Frame, or it was afterwards. But anyway, so I thought, oh my God,
The next
that
one
is
will be in Paris.
they're gonna hit Paris. So I went out big time and warned, please be aware, Paris, Paris, Paris. And so just a few days after that, ISIS came out with a propaganda video where they said, we're going to blow up the Eiffel Tower. Okay. And in that video, they see boom, and they made this animation of the Eiffel Tower going exactly the way that that painting on the wall went down. So I said, please, that just confirm it. Be aware, go to the, you know, what date. It's normally on a very specific date that has some kind of national value, like for instance the 14th of July, you know, the Bastille Day. So I pointed and I said, maybe be aware, and boom, on the 14th of July 2016, I think it was, the same day as the Nice attack happened, then there was this, they say that there was this truck that was parked under the Eiffel Tower. How can you park a truck under the Eiffel Tower? You cannot get in there with a truck normally. And then the fire, the truck was loaded with fireworks and unfortunately caught fire, so that the whole Eiffel Tower was covered in what looked like flames and smoke. And then you had the Nice truck attack, that where I can go into details about the Nice truck attack also if you want, because that was a bizarre one. But maybe it will take too long. But these are the clues. It's like a Dan Brown novel, you know, the way that all of these pointers. It's exactly like that.
Yeah, this is your strength, actually, that because you can see in each report of each attacks what could be the next one, and then you're informing the peoples to how to be able themselves to interpret signs to protect themselves and not to be trapped into the psyops of manipulation.
That is exactly it, Isabel, because the thing is for me to say, listen, there's nothing to be afraid of. Somebody's trying to manipulate your mind. Many of these things, if not all of them, are not true. It is not true. Nothing happened. They're telling you something happened, but then please ask yourself, who believes from you, who earns or benefits from you believing these lies? Because there's always an agenda. And then that will then sort of lead you on the way, the path to freedom, by not being caught up in fear.
But so why do they use deception to maintain us in kind of state of fear and slavery? For which purpose?
If you're not fearful, Isabel, I can't control you. You know?
Why would they control us? For which objectives?
For every objective. If you have an abusive husband, what is he doing? He's trying to control his wife. Why? Because he wants to control her and have power over her and do whatever. It's the same with these forces. I mean, it's corrupt male energy, I think, that is it's messed up. They want global power, they want global destruction, they're into death and all of these dark things that the rest of us are not. But the only way they can get us to accept their agenda is to keep scaring us. If we're not fearful, we will just say, I'm so not doing it. I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm not going to inject myself with all of this crap. I'm not going to accept you starting unjust wars. I'm not going to do what you're telling me. I'm not going to follow the laws.
I believe actually that human beings have the power of creativity. We are able to create the reality we want, actually. I believe that they keep us in the fear to create their own reality by procuration through our power of creativity, to create their own ligne temporelle or future. I don't know if you share that view, but it's just personal.
No, I completely agree with you. And I think if you go to more or less all old scriptures that I know of, at least, there's this fight between the dark and the light.
Yeah.
And where the darkness is envious of the light. It's trying to steal it. It's trying to suck it up. It's trying to destroy it. It's trying to, where the light just wants will. It just wants to create and be left, you know, in its own power. Here we have this, and there are all of these many different stories, you know, Cain and Abel and all of that, where you got the between two brothers, and when one brother killed the other because he's the favorite, and you also have with the angels and Lucifer, and also the same it's the same the same stories are over and over and over again. And so here we are. I think what we're going through now, it's the same story that for thousands of years. It's just like now it's a digital upgraded version where David and Goliath, now it's David and AI and bizarre stuff, you know. So it's like, but it's the same, and it's the same way out also. And the way out is by freeing ourselves from the fear.
This is why your work is so important, because you help us not to let our energies to be eaten anymore by these forces of shadow. And the more we are aware about the play, about the video game into which we are. And by the way, I would like to show to our listeners the book you wrote, which is absolutely fascinating. It's quite short, but it's fantastic. It's called Remind Me. And you compare the life with a video game and how we are players and how we are played. And you showed us. So maybe in a few minutes, I would like you to explain this vision of being in being played, and all your work help us not to be played anymore, so that we can play our own life without being stolen, without being hijacked by other forces that we don't want to be controlled by.
Do you know there are many movies that are showing similar things? It's coming more and more. You have The Matrix, that movie, the first episode, which I think in many ways is like a documentary, where you have that there are two different realities going on at the same time, where the players or your higher self gets hooked up to the system, and then they go down, and they go down on a street level, and they do all of these things, and whatever. I think many times that this one, my meat suit here, I'm the lower self, my higher self is playing me on this board game of life called The Matrix, whatever digital virtual reality we're in. I know for sure that I don't know. Mm-hmm. You got Westworld is another interesting series. You got the Truman Show, and do you know that the producers, one of the producers is, I think his name is Paul Rothschild. So this is also interesting, the way they put it out there. They're putting these things out there to show us once again, because of the law of karma. I think it's also, when you look at the Truman Show, look at the 15-minute cities they're trying to create now. The Truman Show is more or less exactly that. You know, everything is within reach, 15 minutes, but you're not allowed to leave. Mm-hmm. So it just came to me one day, almost like in a download, you know, the word inspiration, in spiritus, in spirit, like when body and mind aligns, spirit enters, and just like on an internet download, woof, this came to me from all of these years of looking into things, and suddenly just like, whoa, boom, 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 boom. And this was before these more advanced video games started appearing. It was, I don't remember what year it was, but quite a long time ago. So I found the concept super interesting, and it just came to me like, boom. So I I was actually in the car driving towards Gibraltar, and I just turned around on the highway, went back home, told my sweetheart, please do not talk to me, feed me, leave me alone, and just let me focus on this one. So for 3 days nonstop, I was just writing. And then I had this book where parts of it was very interesting to myself as well, because it was like, whoa, that is interesting. And so I made it like a game manual where the game is your life, my life.
Mhm.
And where all of these things, reincarnation, religions, skin color, gender, whatever it is, also with the law of karma, with all of these things all in one. And and I'm very happy to say that this small little book has actually saved lives.
How can you tell the difference between true and false informations, between a serious clue and what could be the fruit of our imagination or interpretation? I'll give you an example, very fresh. Last night, I don't know if you heard that information. In Paris, 2 wings of the Moulin Rouge have collapsed. Moulin Rouge is a very famous cabaret place in Paris, you know, with this big wheel with four wings. And it's really mythic. It's really legendary, this place. And last night, we don't know for which reason, 2 wings have collapsed. So, for instance, immediately, because now I'm used to your tools to interpret reality around me, especially in the news, I was immediately saying, oh, this is a sign that something, it's a warning, I'm sure. But maybe I said, oh, Isabelle, maybe this is the fruit of your imagination. This is pure hazard. What would you do yourself with such information?
Okay, so once again, France is a super interesting place for me because you've been the target for so many of these operations. So like more or less 5 years ago, you had the Notre Dame fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that was the only fire ever that I've seen like that, then that would be one thing, but it's not. So what I've seen is on buildings of national value, they put scaffolding. They say that they're going to renovate the place, and so it was very bizarre because you had the renovation. One of the things was that they took down all of these statues, copper statues from the church, but they beheaded them. I saw photos of these statues where they chopped the head of these saints and whatever. I mean, is that renovation or what is going on? That's a very, very symbolic, weird thing, at least. And then, so you have this stone church made of stone, and there was this spire that was made of stone and wood on the inside. To some extent, I think there was some copper and some lead on it. Okay, so we have this fire where you look at the flames, look at the color of the smoke. That will show you the temperature of the fire. So the more intense the colors are, the lighter the colors are, the higher the temperature. The darker the smoke, the lower the temperature. Okay, so here we had like incredible temperatures. I mean, and the fire was inside the scaffolding. Scaffolding in many operations are there to cover so that you cannot see what is going on behind it. You know, you cannot see operatives that are behind it. You cannot see technology. You cannot see whatever. So this spire that could not burn, burned at a very high temperature. So my mind is like, that is so not true. That is not, it's just not true. You cannot do it. I mean, I can take a rock here, I put it in the fire. It will not do like that. Then, yeah, but they said, yeah, but it was the wooden structure within it. Well, that wooden structure was from the, how many years was it from the 1800s, the Notre Dame, something like that. So that we made tests on wood from that is that old. It's rock hard. You can't even put jet fuel on it and put it on fire. It will not burn. So I would very strongly suggest what took down the Notre Dame was laser. These are high-tech weaponry developed by Lockheed Martin. They brag about it on their website. You got Raytheon is another company. They brag about it. Now you got the U.S. Space Force. They're bragging about these weaponry. So here, boom, it went down. And then we had Michelle Obama standing with a group of friends in the Senate, more or less celebrating. It looked like they did not look especially worried. You had all of the fire. You would think that the Notre Dame Church, which is of such national value, that maybe we should bring in some firefighters to turn out the light. Yeah, there were some, but if you look at the photos, the fire brigade was very far away. There was only a few cars standing, but they were there for the photo shoot saying, oh, look at us, we're really doing it. No, you're doing nothing. Where were all the helicopters dropping water on it? Where was all? There was nothing. Okay. So we have now, on the exact date, 5 years later, the Danish stock market from 1609 burned identical with a spire identical was on just a few days ago.
Yeah. Yes.
Completely the same scenario. You had the scaffolding, you had the color of the flame of the fire, super intense, and that tower was made of lead. Please tell me, how do you turn lead on fire? You do not, you cannot. And so there was some copper also, and this was right next to the Danish royal castle. One of the attacks that I was part of stopping in 2019, the whole center around the Swedish castle was with scaffolding. And I tell you, that one, they were really going to fry the center of Stockholm that day, but nothing happened. So then you had, and the spire in Copenhagen were like, it's the tower, the spire itself was 4 water dragons. The tails of them were like this. And then on top of it was the three crowns of Sweden, Denmark, Norway, the union of that, and a flag on top of it. That was completely fried. Then you had Oceana, which is a water, like a Walt Disney water world that was going to open in the summer of this year. And just a few weeks before this happened in Copenhagen, this whole thing just completely went up in flames. A massive big, and there were 4 attractions that were all connected to water dragons. And so the firefighters came there. There was no fire at all. And suddenly, when they were inside it, they said it sounded like it was hit by a missile. That is not the normal description of a fire. And then the whole thing exploded there. So now when Moulin Rouge has dropped 2 wings out of 4, I mean, the fallen angel, we're talking about this type of symbology where you have, there's so many of these things happen. The thing in Copenhagen also happened on the Danish Queen's birthday, who have just stepped down and has now given the throne to her son, Frederick, who married an Australian princess, but both of them are young global leaders under Klaus Schwab. So you have the whole New World Order system in place there. And so it's the fire. This is and all of these things have happened on the dates of earlier one. You know, you have like the Boston Marathon bombing was on one of these dates. You had the Titanic. You had there are just so many of them.
But what is your lecture of these current events with fires and smoke in Copenhagen, in France last night, or this Oceana park also burning into flames? What is then what are the hidden messages for you at this stage of your investigation?
It feels to me like they're almost following the book of Revelation in the Bible as a manual, and that it's now we're at the end of the world as they see it, you know, where the world will be destroyed by fire, by locusts, by floodings, by all of these things. And then you had the alleged mass shooting in Moscow on the 22nd of March, which I pointed out 2 months before it happened, called Crocus, very close to Locus. You know, and that event where they had an alleged mass shooting there with 143 victims, where right after that, please notice these are all NATO countries, including Russia, even though it used to be a close partner of NATO. It's a little confusing why it happened in Moscow, but I can come back to that. But anyway, that whole thing in Moscow, absolute false flag, low budget, absolute crap operation there. But there was 143 victims there, they say. But 143 is also the internet lingo for I love you. If you write 143, that means I love you. And so then the next thing that happened, I mean, this month have just been crazy. I'm just now, if you contact me, if you sign up on my website, I'm going to send out a free newsletter. It's the biggest one I've ever done this month. I'm going to send it out for free if you sign up before then. And it's just like going from one to the other, from boom, 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 like this. Because right after Moscow, we had an alleged mass stabbing in Australia, also connected to NATO, where there was this stabbing took place in a mall called Westfield at Bondi Junction, Junction. And very often these are sort of like subconscious connections like this. So Bondi, what do you think of the word when you think of Bondi? You think
James Bond.
There you go, James Bond, exactly. So 143 and then Bond. So there was a Bond movie called From Russia with Love.
Oh, wow.
Can you see from, so 143, boom, turning towards Bond, and then it just goes on like that. And then the Westfield, you said, how can you look and check what is real, what is not? So this Westfield Mall in Sydney, I checked, there was no drill there, but I found out, because I have people everywhere, that a drill was carried out at another Westfield Mall, in the western part of Sydney, just 2 weeks ago, going through a very similar event. Like the rehearsal drill was there. And then the manager from that smaller Westfield Mall was then transferred to this Bondi Junction Mall just in time for this thing going down. Is that a coincidence, do you think? And then that Westfield Mall attack was an exact copy of a mall attack in Copenhagen, NATO, in 2022. And what was the name of the mall? It was Field, owned by Westfield. So same owners, just different countries, same theme, same everything. And where the general theme at the moment is that because of mental health problems, you know, if it's in the US, it's they want to go for the weapons. Here they want to go mental health. And then also one of the themes that they have used here for a couple of years, what they're trying to is saying, we knew this person was not healthy mentally wise. He was depressed, but we couldn't do anything. And also like the agencies, FBI and other agencies, they come in and they say at the press conference, we had him on our radar, but our hands were tied. We couldn't do anything. And now look, because we couldn't do anything, you got a big pile of dead bodies over there. If you had just allowed us to arrest upon suspicion only, these people would have been not killed, meaning that's the minority report, where they want very much to get into a position where they can say, Isabel, we suspect that you're going to do some bad things in the future because you do not agree with what we're saying and you're becoming a problem. So we can just arrest you on that. And because you're mentally ill, they make an conspiracy theories equal mental health issue. So they can then take you because you believe in this type of thing. You are not sick in the head, or you're not healthy in the head, boom, and mental institution. Thank you and goodbye, Isabel, history.
What role do spiritual symbols play in enabling the elite to hold to power? Can you give us some example of these symbols. I saw that a lot of your comments, you're mentioning the obelisk, the pyramid, some numbers, chess, ground, shoes, for instance.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah, for sure.
give us some example of the power of the symbol on our psychism?
Well, I have a cat who wants to play.
Welcome.
So I'm not an expert here. I'm an observer.
Okay.
I see that they're using these things. I cannot say 100% why, but the obelisk is the symbol for the male, a phallus symbol, the male sexual energy. It was I think the god Osiris that blew himself or was blown to pieces, and the only thing they couldn't find was his dick, and that is the obelisk.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, so the obelisk is very important for the Freemasons. On top of it, you have the pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
And the pyramid, the obelisk are these type of things that keep appearing many times about a year after somebody has been assassinated or something has been successfully carried out or something like that. Then for the decoration of the park, for the decoration of the memorial, we just have to boom, and there you go, a pyramid, an obelisk. The eternal flame is another Freemasonic symbol that you got the flame right on top of the Alma tunnel where Diana is said to have been killed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then that flame is also on the grave of JFK, who was murdered by them, Martin Luther King, who was murdered by them. So these, I think it's almost like a business card. It's like giving us the finger, but it's also to manifest things that I'm not sure about, that I don't understand. I'm sure it has to do with energy, ley lines, you name it. So then you have the dates. They love dates. They're ritualistic way of seeing things, which I'm not an expert in either.
Mm-hmm.
But they keep hitting on days that are connected to death, like Memorial Day, Veterans Day, the National Day of the Nation. Valentine's is another one. Halloween is another one. Yeah, you had Bataclan was on November the 13th, Friday the 13th. These things that
All the solstices, the solar eclipse also, the eclipses and the solstice.
Yeah, but these are things that I'm sure you're better at than I am. I don't really understand it. But I can see that they keep doing it. And like the 22nd of March, that is a standard one every single year. There's another standard one. It will be the end of May, the end of May from the 25th up to the 1st of June. There's going to be one boom somewhere. I can tell you this on that on this program, because it's because of the first week of June. The Bilderberg group is having a meeting, and they want to divert the attention away from these meetings, so the media is filled up with boom horror things over there. So please be aware, around the 25th, 26th, 27th, somewhere, often not so far from where this group is holding they're trying to keep these meetings super secret, or they used to. But about that time, boom, it's going to happen.
Do you think that oh, sorry.
No, so yeah, just like in Dan Brown, his books, a lot of the symbols and the pointers and the clues are connected to Freemasonic way of thinking, or
So
satanic.
What would be your advices to the public, to anyone like me, for instance, when we're watching documentaries on the TV or on TV channels, pictures on attacks? What would be your advice in order to be able now to have this sharp lecture, not to let ourselves be trapped into the emotional field? What is your hints and tricks to take distance from what we see and to décortiquer, to unmask the tricks that we could see?
if you're interested, and I think this people should be interested because it's really affecting our lives.
Yeah.
So please go to my website, lightonconspiracies.com, lightonconspiracies.com. If you scroll down a little bit, there's one slideshow called most viewed, most watched videos. And one of them is Terror, Are You Kidding Me? It's a presentation I did many years ago. And it's just like, terror, are you kidding me? I made it as funny as I can, but also showing all the different steps. If you go through that one and you memorize the different things, you will see through so many of these ones, so many of them, how they do it. It's just like cooking, how to, you know, like how to make a lasagna, how to make this. You need to know the ingredients, you need to know how it's put together and the way it's set up in the right order. And once you start seeing that, it's very simple. You can see through a lot of these things.
So what is quite positive in your work and message, if I'm not wrong, is that you help us to take distance from events and from what it is told by the narratives, which means that in some attacks, there are not as much dead than what we are told. You also said, for instance, in the war in Ukraine, there are a lot of film sets to exaggerate the massacres. So how to still remaining in that compassion for true victims, real victims?
Once again, good question, Isabel. It's a tricky one because before I started understanding these things, I was buying the official narrative right off. You know, I thought that I was good with history. I thought I knew world history. I thought I've been checking out, many battlefields, World War I, World War II. I thought I knew a lot. I've been to concentration camps. I've been all of it. And then it just, over all of these years, I started coming to a point where like, my God, this is just not true. And that is just not true. And that is just not true. And that was when at the time also when I started getting into the area of so-called false flag operations. And a false flag operation is where the attacked one is actually the attacker. They're turning it around so that the victim of the attack is actually the ones who have carried it out. It's from an old naval term when the old days, they came up with this idea that instead of them, like nations like France, Holland, Spain, Belgium, England, the United British Empire, were around plundering the world, but it was giving them a very bad reputation. So somebody came up with the idea, why don't we do it like this? Let us be attacked by one of our own ships. The only thing we have to do is put the enemy's flag on that ship. Then we attack ourselves. And then that will then justify us coming invasion, rape, and plunder, and do exactly like that. And the rest of the world will applaud us. Oh, poor you, poor you. And we can do whatever we want. And so they've been continuing with that whole thing. So when it comes to alleged terror attacks, and I keep saying alleged because I have looked into hundreds, I tell you, Isabel, and when I look into them, I dig deep. So I should be a super, super expert on Muslim terrorists. I know zero. But if you ask me about NATO operations, Mossad, CIA, the so-called Gladio Ghost Army, that is it. These are the ones that I keep bumping into again and again and again. So I've been investigating, like I say, hundreds of cases. I've been traveling to many different countries on site, really scary sometimes, to try and find out what actually happened. I have to this day not found one single terror attack that I know for sure was a terror attack. I have not. I found them over and over and over. I have not yet seen a mass shooting that I know for sure was a real mass shooting. I mean, that is, for me to say that is quite out
Yeah.
there, you know, because I have not. It's all the time them, the same force over and over, the same template, the same, many times the same shooters, the same teams, the same crisis actors being used. So in the old days, there were a lot of real victims in the 60s, 70s, 80s, when they were doing, now it's like mass stabbings in supermarkets. They want to, you know, there's this war against food production. So now they also want us to get scared of the shops. So there's a lot of stabbings going on in the supermarkets, making us fearful around that as well. In the 60s and 70s, there were mass shootings in supermarkets in Brussels, the Brabant gang. You had the train station in Milano that was blown up. Also, these type of terror attacks.
But for instance, I guess that there's still a mixing between real victims and false victims, because, you know, during the 7th of October attacks, I have a relative that was killed actually in Israel. And since, of course, I'm following all what you're teaching us somehow, or I was saying, okay, so what is true and what is wrong, or what is false in these attacks? So, but I just had to say that this victim was real, because it was a first source, comment dire, une information de première main, an information, direct information coming from inside.
So it's like, what I said was, I didn't say that people didn't die. I say that what I found is that they're the same forces that are carrying it out.
Okay.
And Israel is very, very central, or in what is called terrorism. It was created in the 70s in Israel. There were these meetings where they came up with what terrorism should look like. George Bush Sr. was there as these meetings as well. So Mossad, whose motto is war by deception, war by deception. They are the masters. They are the masters in this area. So you have where they're blaming somebody and they're killing real people. That's one type of operation. Then they got a completely different one where they're blaming someone and no one is being killed. They're only so-called crisis actors. And this is where it's like all set up like a film set, more or less, where it's low budget and where the only thing that is important is to get the fear out through media. And then sometimes you have what I call a hybrid, where there's both crisis actors and real victims.
Yeah, thank you.
Then you have another layer where it's like you're being told one thing and people, they say yes, and people are dead, like the October the 7th. You were being told one thing and said they did it. Then you have a completely different version of the same, with the same result, the same people dead, but somebody else did it. You know, these are we're in a world of deception, war by deception. And so many times when people are really killed, when you start looking into who really got killed, many times they are competitors in the drug trade, or they're people they want to get rid of anyway, and it's just hide it by this terror attack, or they blame it on this serial killer that is created by them. You know, so there's a lot of different aspects to take into account.
Okay.
And then we have in war zones, you have like, oh my God, I'm being shot at. It's the Ukrainian army. How do you know? Because I looked in and they had Ukrainian uniforms. No, the only thing that is proven is that somebody with that uniform shot at you. Who is that person? That is what you have to find out. Yeah, but, and this is what we get very, very, Ukraine is a massive psyop, massive psyop. I mean, the first few months, there was not a single true word coming out from that one. And I also found hidden clues pointing to the word Ukraine several months before. First Kazakhstan, then Ukraine. I said, I have no idea why they're pointing here, but they are. And boom, then it happened. And in the beginning in the Ukraine, you had all of the footage was footage that was not accurate. It was from a gun show in Texas. You had another one. A lot of the footage from the Ukrainian this whole thing with the Russian invasion was from a computer game called Armor 3. Even the people that owns the company Armor 3 has sued CNN for using their material because it's copyrighted. But this is what we were being told. Then there was a lot of footage from the conflict in the Ukraine 2013 or 14 that was used, now recycled. Then we had a lot of footage of crisis actors from that year that was being recycled. So what was actually going on? And when you looked at, there's like these online CCTV cameras from all over the world. If you looked at, which I did right away, when I was told, look at media, they were saying the Ukraine is being bombed. Everything is just horrible. I looked at the cameras from the main square in Kiev. Everything was quiet. Nothing was happening. It was completely like this. So with anyone who's not on location have to question everything. I can tell you with the October the 7th attack, or they say attack, it's so ridiculous. So it's like, if it wasn't that tragic, this would be Monty Python. You cannot come up with crap script like this. I mean, for one thing, Hamas is, and this is a fact, an Israeli creation. It is not a Palestinian creation. So if you have something that is created and funded by Israel, and then you're fighting that exact thing, what are you looking at? Then you have Gaza, who is the world's biggest open air prison. They have nothing in there. I have friends who've gone in there. Max Egan, one of an international speaker, he managed to get in there. He wanted to help, to make furniture for the schools and the kids. They didn't even have screws or nails or anything. Everything was stopped. And the technology that is locking them in is so advanced that it's unbelievable. And then we're being told that on October the 7th, all of the soldiers were moved away. All of the cameras, no, sorry, they didn't work. All of the warning system, sorry, didn't work for a few hours, while they had made copies of the buildings. They had made all of these things without this massive surveillance, where they can't even get hardly water or anything in there. They managed to break out with hang gliders, really hang gliders, and pickup trucks. Okay, so one Apache helicopter, Israel had multiple, and fighter jets and whatever. One Apache helicopter could have gone up and in 28 seconds taken out all of the trucks, all of the hang gliders. Instead, no. And so they were allowed, we're being told, to wander around for a few hours and kill about 1,500 people, and then get back into, and nobody reacted at all. And then all of the soldiers came back and said, oh my God, what a bummer. This first time ever, when we just happened to look the other way and shut down everything type of security, this happened. It is so not true. Then you look into every single statement. For one thing, they claim it's a conflict. No, it's genocide. It's not. It's like one of the most advanced, and we're talking technology on a scale that is unheard of. Israel, which are being funded about 10 million per day US dollars from the US. That's just one part of it. Every single day, and a lot of it goes into weapon technology. And then you got people that have hardly got nails and screws and water or electricity locked in, and they say, well, Iran sent the weapons. How did they get it in there? How? Yeah, but so somebody is firing stuff from that in. Could it be Hamas, which are their organization, shooting? So that would then justify, this is a classic false flag, that would then justify them coming in with fighter jets, bomber jets, like big tanks, like all of these. Do you think this is like a newborn baby and Mike Tyson? Do you think a newborn baby would pick a fight with Mike Tyson? I'm just asking you, if the baby knew that if he pees on Mike Tyson's foot, he would be squashed, would he do it? I don't think so. This is exact. So it's not like, yeah, they shouldn't have shot at us. It's the classical false flag. And then you have all of these eyewitnesses that are talking about horrible stuff. Look at when they're being interviewed, almost all of them are looking down to the left. That's where the prompter is, where they go through. So they follow the script, like completely motionless or smiling. The smiling is called duping delight. It is when you know that you're manipulating somebody else. And very often in the background, you got somebody anonymous that is just standing there. That's the controller, making sure that everything is done according to the agenda. Everything color-coded. I mean, and then also if you look at the fires at this music festival, the destruction of these cars, anomalies just like in Lahaina, Maui, like in the California fires. We're talking about what is called directed energy weapons and lasers. This cannot be done by normal fire. It cannot. It cannot. It burns from the inside out if it's directed energy weapons or microwave weapons or laser weapons that just melt stuff in a way that normal fires cannot. It's temperatures that is unheard of. But it does not affect paper. It only affects anything that is connected to metal. So it's these anomalies are dead giveaways. And then I also want to say, I'm sorry to hear that you lost someone. At the same time, please know that, for instance, the CIA, the Mossad, different agencies have incredible budgets and incredible amount of people employed. Do you know anyone? We don't. We don't know. Where are they? Where are they? They're around us. And so these people are very easily used as somebody that would be relocated, officially dead. It's also when somebody dies, I'm not saying that your friend was connected to these agencies. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I have been betrayed more than once, and I'm believed in people that later turn out to have a completely different identity. Super bizarre. But anyway, also the perfect operative is somebody that is dead. When they officially die, then they can be used nameless, trackless, and to carry out whatever operation in other territories where they will not be recognized. So what are we looking at, Isabel? I don't know.
Thank you for this fascinating clarification, Ole. I would like to invite our listeners to watch the film that you also recommend, Wag the Dog, which
Wag
is
the Dog.
Wag the Dog, how to create a whole war in order to cover an internal private comment tu dis, infamy. I read somewhere that it is written in the Bible that Israel is the elected nation, but as a philosophy, what is elected, or what is the path that we should follow is real, is, and plus loin, real, R-E-A-L. So all what is real should be the past. And this is what, in the future, in the evolution of our consciousness, this is what we should follow to make this thing. And this is exactly what you do, to help us to distinguish between what is false and what is real. And I love this idea that what is the guide actually to go ahead in our destiny is to follow what is real, what is true. Voila. Just a little comment. What do you think about that?
No, so the head of the CIA in the late 80s, maybe early 90s, he said, we have succeeded the day that the people of the USA, everything they believe in is lies, is based on lies. That's the day we have succeeded. I tell you, we're there, because if you look at the world and you say, oh, we live in a mad world. No, we don't live in a mad world at all. We live in a world that is inverted. Exactly. It's upside down. And this is what so-called evil does. It inverts reality. So black is white, white is black. We are behind the mirror. That's the way you have to look at the world. So I can more or less guarantee you that if you wait for liberation out there, that the politicians and governments, government mind control, that there will come with a solution. You can wait forever and while seeing your life go like this. But if you start seeing that to make things logical, just whatever they tell you is good for you, please look into it, because I can more or less guarantee you it's not. Whatever they say is bad for you and they try to ban, super interesting. Thank you so much for telling me that I should look more into cinnamon or colloidal silver, whatever it is they're trying to ban. Look into it, because there's a reason. They say that they want this for our benefit, for the good of humanity. Absolutely not true. They want us dead. That's the pure and simple. They do not want us healthy and alive. So turn it around, take the power back, stop believing the lies, breathe. Every time you get afraid, take a walk. Before you buy into it, ask yourself, who benefits from me believing this? Moulin Rouge, boom, wings going down. Oh my God, the world is going under. Or not. What is happening? I have no idea. Let me take a walk. Look at the official narrative. Does it make any sense? Is it based on fear? In that case, it's their narrative. If you look, I tell you, Isabel, I can guarantee you it's not a natural event. That I can tell. That for me, right away, it's like two wings left. It's connected to, I don't know, the symbolism of Moulin Rouge. I'm sure there's a whole thing behind it. It's also, it's connected to red, isn't it? Also the color of death and blood.
Yeah, in this inverted values, we have, for instance, but then I would like really to invite you once more to go deeper into that discussion about inverted values. But we have, of course, the climate change narrative that CO2 is dangerous. It's actually the gas of life. We need CO2 for the whole planet. This is the gas of life. Even if the climate is indeed getting warmer, that's right. But I think for me it's a question of it's a cyclic phenomenon. Actually, 2030 agenda of the United Nations is really totally full of these friendly oriented goals, supposedly friendly oriented for the planet, for the environment, for the health. And it's the total opposite. But this is another discussion. I don't know if you'd like to add something on my comment, but I really would like to invite you to speak on that special subject.
For sure. Yeah, it's like Agenda 21, look into it and you will see. I mean, they're not hiding the agenda. It is not hiding, and it's super, super dark. It's but the power of that agenda, which there's more than 174 countries that is officially have signed under that. I've never found any signatures. This is just what we're being told. But this is an agenda put together by the former Norwegian Prime Minister Gro Harlem Brundtland and Maurice Strong, who is one of the groomers behind many of the top in the US, like these presidents and so on. And it's when you go through it, it is absolute madness. It is absolute madness. They make it sound really beautiful, but it's just another name for the fourth industrial revolution that Klaus Schwab and his gangsters are trying to push on us, which is like everything one digital currency completely controlled by them, one world army, the US Army, NATO, and the United Forces in one, not there to protect, to control us. One police force, global police force, one global religion, which will be completely worshiping them, one digital currency so that they can completely control it, one global dictator so that they can, I mean, it's all a matter of, but also like in Klaus Schwab, they're promoting this whole thing that you will own nothing and you will be happy. That is exactly the idea. And these are people that are so wealthy. So it's like for them to say a thing like that, I say, okay, you live by example. You show us that you're happy without anything, Mr. Buddha, and maybe we will follow. But until then, here's what you can get from me, because it's so it's sort of like, but they want to control, and this is the agenda. They want to control all water, all land, all air, sky, all inventions, all energy, all media, all police force, all property, including your children, that they will be the property of the state. I mean, it's like absolute bonkers. Like, it's like unbelievable. And it's on a dictatorship level that is like up here. They're not hiding it. You can read about it. And in your home county, this is what is being carried out, because the power of Agenda 21 is that, and the scary power of it is that this agenda is being carried out on a local level, on a national level, and on an international level at the same time, meaning that they're moving on all three fronts at the same time. So you are up against the same force if you want to build a new dog house for your dog, or if it's against another nation. It's the same power. This is the thing that we need to get out of the grip, because if we don't, this future is not fun to live at all. And they're pushing very hard now, because I think they're getting terrified because so many of us are becoming aware, you know, so they're trying to push us into this digital, completely controlled environment.
You're really unbelievably courageous somehow. And luckily for this courage, this bravery, you have been honored and rewarded several times for your heroic work in exposing lies and injustice. But you were also threatened to death several times. You are still censored and persecuted by those in power. How do you feel with all these threats, censorships, and so on?
It's much more than that, because it's been very physical as well. I've been shot. I was almost hit by cars. We've had people, close people to us, that have been murdered or put away in jail or mental institutions. We've changed the country twice. I mean, my daughter thought that we kidnapped her coming here to Bali, and which we indirectly did, you know. So it's like, so for me to drive a cab or drive a bus, that is nothing compared to also starting a whole new life. This is the third time in my life I start from absolute scratch. So, and it's not that I'm trying to wake people up. I'm not trying to wake anyone up. I'm trying to transcend this madness by exposing it. I'm not trying to persuade anyone. I'm not waiting for anyone to wake up, but I'm trying to live in a way that might be inspiring to others people, and to get them to engage in their life and in their community and their families, to become alive and step up the game in truth, not violence, but very, you know, follow their inspiration, follow the path of love, even though it might be very, very scary, because I tell you, it is a scary, scary ride. And I just want to say before we end here that because so many people are worried and nervous and unsure what's going on, I do live webinars on a regular basis, and I'm doing one here on Sunday. It's on donation.
Yeah.
So it would be, I think, 3 p.m. in France, I believe it is. And it's
28th of April, yeah.
Yeah, 28th of April. It's called Very Diplomatic. What the hell is going on? And in that, you can just ask me any question. I'm very wide, you know, in many different topics after all of these years. And I do my utmost that this is not information that will drag you down, but instead lift you up so that you feel really empowered afterwards.
What is your message to the armed force and the police in order that they also wake up and don't take part into that setup?
I've recorded many years ago direct messages to them. It's on my website. You can just, I think it's under Get Involved. There are direct messages where I speak directly to police, where I speak directly to the army, and also where I speak directly in a separate video to the members of the elite, because I think that they're shitting themselves. You know, I think that they're in a situation where they don't know how to get out of it. They've been up to so much bad for a long, long time, thought that they could get away with it. And now the world is changing into a place where suddenly all of these spotlights are being aimed at them. Because the thing is, they're in the thousands, we are billions. So it's like unbelievable that we've let this even happen. So please go to and listen to these videos. And the optimism is life is an illusion. We might die. And so why not make the best of it? And I've always felt that if I listen too much to my brain, I can get depressed or sad. But in my heart, I know that this is not going to be a problem. If we just keep the intention and keep the gratitude high, the focus, and just lift us, and don't buy into the fear. Do not buy into the fear. There's this prayer that my spiritual teacher, I'm not religious, but my spiritual teacher, Nelani Chelaram, who's a Raj Yoga teacher, that's not a religion, it's a philosophy. And it's called the science of the mind, 5,000-year-old philosophy where people have been sitting in caves for many, many years, just examining the mind. And, you know, so it's like almost like a manual to it. Anyway, the prayer that she once told me and that blew me away, but I absolutely love it, goes like this. May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. That's the entire universe. Absolutely every single square inch of it be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May everyone, and especially the ones who hurt us, be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May the light of truth overcome all darkness. So victory to that light. The thing is, Isabel, I don't want a lot in life. I'm not really into material stuff anymore. I don't know, what to do with it, even though donations, please, 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 because I'm being completely squashed and hammered.
This was my last question, actually. How can we support you and your work concretely?
Anyways, yeah, but what I'm saying is that my aim is to turn this duality into a oneness, just a beautiful, beautiful future for all of us, filled with compassion, equality, balance, harmony, you name it, for all of us, because also indirectly we have to thank these absolute assholes that are our greatest teachers. So when it comes to support, please, this is the thing. If you think that what I'm doing is of value, then please consider financial support, because this is the tricky one. So on my website, there's donations, there's membership. I've got all my books there, Kim's books, and also a monthly newsletter where every month I go through exactly. I'm pointing out right now, I'm pointing towards Las Vegas. So let's see if Vegas is going to go down. I hope not. But anyway, so you can see it. I've been doing this for many years. And so all of these attacks, this is where I said it, that's when it happened. This is when I said it, that's. So it's my last name have even become a verb. #Dammegarding or #Dammegard is to find the hidden clues and help to stop upcoming attacks. So, but also I want to say that I've got the world's, as far as I know, the world's biggest research vault, which is 5 terabyte of perfectly organized evidence in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases. My whole life is in this, and I'm now making it available so that we can share it and save it for generations to come, because so much is being deleted, so much is being censored. So please help me guard this treasure for many generations to come. So that is Light on Conspiracies.
Thank you for this priceless gift that you're giving me and my community, Ole. I hope this is the first chapter of a long friendship and collaboration. I will be always there to support your work and the beauty of your vision and commitment. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Ole.
Thank you, Isabel.